Everyone seems to love a good comeback story. The ones that we hear about where somebody has accumulated quite a bit of wealth through industry, or they have built a career and a reputation, a stellar one at that, and then lost it all. And then somehow or another, they've gained it back. And sometimes they do that more than once. And we like those stories because they give us hope. And they make us think that perhaps I can rise from the ashes also, in the event that that ever happens to me. Well, that doesn't always happen to everybody. Some things don't recover quite as well. People are given second chances often enough. But sometimes so much damage can be incurred by poor judgment that sometimes you can never really fully regain the status, and you can never sometimes ascend to the throne that you once sat on. And oftentimes it's because of the little things. I've seen it happen to people in my life. And there's always a fear in my own personal life that those small things are going to be what takes me down. Words that are not fitly spoken, outbursts of anger at the wrong time, standing up to a boss who made you mad in the moment and you felt like you had to say something. Perhaps you're influenced by videos that encourage you to be more of a man and to speak out more and to put your foot down. And all that is good if it's done in the right place at the right time. But oftentimes, people make these little mistakes in trying to do the right thing, and trying to stand up for themselves, and trying to just maybe it's not about standing up for yourself. Maybe it's about a personal vice that you have, and you think it's small. You think, I'm not hurting anybody. I'm just doing this little thing over here. But over time, this little thing overtakes you. And before you know it, you've lost everything. You might have lost your home. You might have lost your family. You might have lost your job, your friends, and maybe your own respect, or just the respect of others. But that's what happens. See, in the early 1920s, just to illustrate my point here, in the early 1920s in London, well, in the mid-1920s, there was a professor named Professor Waddington. Yes, that was his name, Waddington, Professor Waddington. He was walking along the railroad tracks, and he saw a snail crawling along the track. And he got down on all fours and crawled alongside it to observe its movements. Along came a train and killed both Professor Waddington and the snail. I'm not making that up. It really happened. It really happened. But here's the thing. Here's what I want you to take away from this. Professor Waddington was just that, a professor, which means that he rose to a position of some status. He had gained, a title that was just respectable as professor. He was smart. He was knowledgeable. And some would say, well, he's probably not too smart. He didn't have common sense enough to know the train was coming. But don't be so quick to judge. Many people have been taken down by the small things. And you can't let yourself do that. Don't be the comeback story. It might seem respectable, and it might seem inspiring, but don't take the chance to begin with. Think about the things in your life that are small, that you're chasing, that you're spending your time on, that don't really have any significance. They don't really have any beneficial consequence. And remove those things. And sometimes the small things are just impulsive habits that we have. Speaking things to our spouse or to our friends or to our boss in maybe sarcastic or angry ways that hurt them, and put everything we have at risk with them. And perhaps it's just is demonstrating your displeasure at another driver. And you think it's just a small thing, and I'll drive on. And oftentimes it's not. You hear the stories all the time. You hear stories about men who think that their lust is something that is small, not hurting anybody else, and yet because they pursue it, and they don't see it mushrooming, they don't see the burgeoning of a greater crime happening, and before you know it, it's out in the open, and they've lost everything: their home, their wife, their careers, their reputation more than anything else. You lose your reputation, you've lost a lot. And so don't do what Professor Waddington did. Don't get caught up with the small things. The small things might kill you. If you're not careful, you won't even see the train bearing down upon you. You got to keep your eyes open. It's okay to look at the small things and observe things, but you can't put your ear so close to the track that you don't hear the train coming at all. You can't be so caught up in your own personal quest to take on the small things that you don't know what's about to hit you. And I think Professor Waddington served as a good example of that. And I hope that meant something to you. I hope it spoke to you. I hope it resonated. And I hope you heard it before it's too late. So think about that today. What are the small things in your life, and how can you change them? How can you either eliminate them or adjust your focus? All right, guys, I've got to get to work. I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.